Hey gamers, Gecko here. If there is one mechanic in fighting games right now that is extremely controversial, it's simple inputs. But I'm making a main channel video on that, so let's talk about the next biggest thing. Wall breaks. If you don't know, since around the start of Guilty Gear Strive, there has been a large vocal minority of people who have started screaming about how they hate the idea of wall breaks, and they're no good. I'm of course dumbing down the problems here. A lot of people do hate wall breaks in fighting games, especially in Guilty Gear Strive. And I've had several people in my chat recently ask me why that is. So I decided I should take a little bit of time today to clarify what their position is, what they believe, why I don't necessarily think that they're right, and the ways that developers are addressing their concerns in future titles. So let's begin with an explanation of the wall break mechanic, shall we? Wall breaks are actually in a bunch of different fighting games. A lot of them call them arena shifts. Basically, the way that it works is when you damage an enemy enough against a wall, sometimes the wall will break. Now, depending on the game, this gives you different things. In several of the Mortal Kombat games, this gives you a bit of damage, along with a flashy animation, and returns you to neutral. In Tekken, this actually continues your combos, and there's entire stages based around continually breaking the wall. Tekken also has floor breaks as well, which do a very similar thing. Sometimes these adjust into an arena shift, other times not exactly. However, the one that is extremely controversial is the Guilty Gear Strive wall break. In Strive, the wall has a secret health bar that you can't necessarily see. Once you do enough damage to deplete the wall's health bar, you can then knock the opponent through it. This is generally shown by the wall getting more and more cracks in it the more you do combos against it. However, if you do a very long mid-screen combo, there is a chance that the moment you get to the wall, you will just break it. Several characters also have moves that heavily increase the wall's damage, most notably Slayer's Pile Bunker, which instantly sticks you to the wall and allows you to break it. When the game came out, it was an extremely controversial mechanic, to the point where several people made videos about how they didn't like it. But why is that? Well, it has to do with how you interact with the corner. If you're somehow unaware, the corner in basically every fighting game is extremely powerful. With your back against the wall, you're not able to create any more distance from your opponent, meaning it's a lot harder to squirm out of their incoming mix-ups. The wall also allows for combos that aren't necessarily possible in mid-screen. Since, again, you can't fly backwards, you're able to keep the opponent extremely close to you so that you can do really devastating combos. There's also added techniques such as wall bounces that allow for corner-specific combos and setups. If you go and play any old anime game, or even Street Fighter 6, you will feel this pressure. Having your back against the wall is a terrifying feeling, and shoving your opponent into the corner is a pretty good one. This is basically how every 2D game has done it, until Guilty Gear Strive came along and said, let's break the wall. Now, of course, there are other games that allow you to stage transition with the wall. Mainly, Mortal Kombat, at several points in its life, allowed you to break through the walls. Granted, it was a little bit different with how it worked in that game, but Strive definitely wasn't the first to do it. However, Strive's implementation has been very controversial. So why is that? Well, it goes back to the feeling that you get when you're in the corner. While you having your back to the corner is a pretty negative experience, having someone in the corner is a very nice one. A lot of the things on your characters just work without any flaws in the corner. Pressure is a lot easier to format since you have to worry less about distances. Combos are generally quite easier to do and do more damage. The potential for Okis and setups could be stronger depending on your character. And most importantly, you're just in a better state when your opponent's got their back against the wall. It's something that allows you to be more powerful. And having to give that up because you did too much damage doesn't feel that good when you're used to just having the corner. Not to mention, Strive's implementation can be a little bit flawed at times. There's been times where characters, instead of breaking the wall, would simply slump you against it, which kind of gives the feeling of how old corners were, since you were able to just loop pressure over and over. But most characters have to break the wall since their combo ends you in the air, and then if they get another hit on you, they shove you back to the corner, and it can get kind of loopy. If you're not used to how Guilty Gear Strive plays, this could be pretty weird. And if they want to keep the corner, they have to intentionally nerf their combo. Instead of getting damage and Oki like they might have got in the older games, they have to choose between damage or Oki. Even if they use a super to break the wall, they'll get a hard knockdown and it won't be as good. So those are generally the reasons why a lot of older players don't like the wall in Strive. At least those are the ones that I remember. If I missed any, let me know in the comments below. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I personally really like how the wall works in Strive. Yes, on the offensive side, it can be pretty bad doing your basic pressure and then the opponent immediately gets stuck to the wall and you have to break it. However, as the defender with his back against the corner, I really like not having to be stuck there for an entire round. Knowing that once I get hit, I'm probably going to be sent back to neutral is a pretty nice feeling. And players have definitely developed ways to still keep their pressure once using a super through the wall break that allows them to either get the corner immediately or put you in a very devastating mix-up. Strive is also a game where getting the corner is not hard. Basically, all of the top tiers right now have amazing tools to just shove you in the corner. Sin's a very good example of this. With his stamina gauge, he's able to press a button, do a special move, do another special move, and then you're basically already in the corner. Ramlethal is able to just throw her swords on you. Potemkin covers the entire screen, but he hits you once and suddenly you find yourself in the corner. All of these characters are really good, and getting into the corner is not hard for them. Because of that, if the corner was an extremely powerful thing, it would be terrifying. Ram, for example, is a character that thrives when their opponent is in the corner. So knowing at some point that I'm eventually going to be taken out of that position and put in a more neutral state is very nice, because having to play a whole round against Ram trapped in the corner, no. Just no, it wouldn't work. But that doesn't mean I don't understand the frustration. I get it. I've had times where I'm playing the game and I shove my opponent in the corner, do my basic RPS, and the moment I actually go for a hit, they immediately stick to the wall because their wall damage is increased. It can feel kind of shit, but it's one of the things that I can take with the game and just take as it is. I don't mind it because I've gotten used to it. But that doesn't mean I don't think there's room for improvement. And this is where the new kid on the block shows up. This debate got reignited thanks to the inclusion of wall breaks in Marvel Tokon. If you don't know, Marvel Tokon has a three-sided stage. You start in the middle of the stage, and then you can break the wall to either go to the left side of the stage or the right side of the stage. Obviously, depending on what wall that you break. The wall is broken with specific special moves or by throwing the opponent close to the wall. If you break the left wall and then try to break the left wall again, it doesn't work. That wall is now a hard, normal fighting game wall. You are truly in the corner if you break the left wall and shove them into the left corner. Same as if you break the right wall and shove them into the right corner. Several people got upset about this, especially with the throws. Having a throw immediately break the wall and put you back to true neutral can be a little bit annoying, especially if you're used to fighting games where throws actually start your combos. Cough, cough, BlazBlue, cough, cough. However, after seeing more gameplay footage and thinking about it for a couple of seconds, I actually really like how Marvel has done this. Breaking the wall gives you access to one of your assists early. Normally, the only other way to get an assist is to lose a round. So breaking a wall gives you a massive advantage that you wouldn't have otherwise. Being able to get this off of a basic throw is pretty good for newer players who might not necessarily know how to combo into their wall break moves. And the throws in Marvel Tokon seemingly put you in a neutral state anyway. So throwing someone through a wall doesn't really change that much. It just gives you an assist now. Not to mention, the wall doesn't work like how it is in Strive. Several of the attacks that go through the wall are specifically wall break moves. You can do a full combo in the corner with a breakable wall behind the opponent. And as long as you don't use that move, you're generally going to be fine. Several videos of the people playing at EVO have them do full corner combos and then just send their opponent down without too much hassle. Now, I'm sure that this has some caveats. There's probably some moves that wall bounce if you're specifically in the actual corner, whereas if you did them with a breakable wall, they probably wouldn't. And also, the majority of the world hasn't been able to play the game, so I am literally going off of what I've seen other people do. But the main thing for me is the fact that they've decided to iterate on this idea. If we go back to the Tekken example, walls weren't introduced in Tekken until Tekken 4. And when they came out, they kinda sucked. Tekken 4 is a very experimental game. They do a lot with the different arenas and try to make things a bit funky. For example, one of the maps has height elevation. You're literally fighting on a slope. They did a lot of weird things in that game, and the wall system is terrible. It's extremely easy to abuse. You can get infinites with just one button if you get the correct angle with the wall, and it breaks the game in half. But the Tekken devs looked at it and decided we should keep going further, and eventually we got the wall system that we got today. Now in Tekken, instead of just picking whatever map looks the nicest, all of the maps have different things. Some of them have a lot of wall breaks, some of them have no wall breaks, some of them have floor breaks, some of them have shifting arenas, some of them are just fucking massive. The stage that you play on is very important now. Not as important as the character that you play, but it still enhances their abilities and changes the way that you would go about a match. And it's all because they took a system that, let's be real, not a lot of people liked, and iterated upon it. I'm glad to see ArcSys doing this with wall breaks. They've decided to look at the system, take the things that they like about it, and add a little bit of a spin to it. Obviously, they can't just give positive bonus in Tokon, but getting 25 extra meter and a full new assist is pretty fucking close. And they found a way to keep the actual wall. This, for me alone, is a good enough reason on why wall breaks should exist. They've allowed for an innovation in the fighting game scene. And I don't just want to say that everyone that hates wall breaks is a reclusive who hates change and never wants things to improve. But if you change something very fundamental, there is definitely going to be a backlash with it. An understandable backlash? Sometimes. But a backlash nonetheless. I like Strive's implementation of wall break. I think it changes the way that you go around several things in neutral, pressure, and defense, and I like how it looks when the character flies through the thing and the White House building explodes. But I understand that it's not for everyone. And I hope you understand that as well. Just because somebody says they don't like wall break doesn't mean that they're a dickhead reclusive shut-in who has no idea what they're talking about. And on the flip side, if someone says they like wall break, that doesn't mean that they're an idiot striver who's never played another fighting game. It is a fundamental shift on how a fighting game works. So of course there's going to be controversy around it, but I still like it. And I really hope that it continues to get developed. Hell, it's not like we have a shortage of fighting games without wall breaks. So, I hope that clarified a couple things up. I hope no one's angry in the comment section, but knowing my luck, somebody saw the title and didn't watch the video. Thank you all for watching. If you did get this far, we're streaming right now. I'm playing in Salty EU, playing a little bit of Strive, and we're going to be doing a little bit of catching up afterwards, because I didn't stream on the weekend, because of personal stuff. I'm going to be streaming Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so make sure you go down to the Twitch below, and make sure to subscribe to get the highlights afterwards. I'm going to be at Versus Fighting this weekend, so there's going to be no weekend streams. There's hopefully going to be a video on the main channel. I got to get working on it, but it should be fun. It should be good. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye!